great. If not, as always, I hope it gets better for you. So we're doing a live Q&A here where we come on here every Friday night so we can answer questions about keeping freshwater fish, shrimp, plants, whatever you may be keeping in your freshwater tanks. Now, we are going in the vertical mode here. Something a little different we haven't done in quite some time, and see how it goes, because the horizontals just aren't cutting it with what YouTube wants. So this is what we're going to do, and hopefully we can reach some more people and really help them out with their aquariums, because I actually just got back from a fish store, and just hearing, actually a couple fish stores, just hearing people talk that are just getting into the hobby, there's a lot for them to learn. So this is why I try to provide this for people, that maybe they can get some knowledge from people who have been doing it for a long time and could hopefully expedite what they learn and make it more enjoyable for them to actually keep their aquariums, to where it's not just something that just becomes a hassle at some point, something that they can actually enjoy for really their lifetimes, because I know I'm gonna probably have a tank forever. But hello everybody coming in the chat, good to see you guys in here, all of you. Happy Fridays to you. Sunny says, how should I cycle a tank for a Catalina tank? I'm not really sure what a Catalina tank is or what you mean by that. But as far as any kind of cycle and letting Mother Nature kind of develop its microbiology, in essence, that's pretty much what you're doing when you're cycling out tanks. So it can deal with certain impurities like ammonias and excess waste from like fish or whatever may be in that tank. Usually if you let it set for 2 weeks, add the fish slowly and or shrimp, and the cycle will build up. It doesn't take long, could actually just happen between a day or two, and then you can just add more. But I mean, I've also cycled tanks in like the same day. So whenever we're setting up tanks for shows and bringing fish from here to there, you've got to set up those tanks like that day. So what I'll do is I'll bring some mulch, some dirty sponge filter stuff, and squeeze it into my tank. They do make certain liquids that you could get, like Fritz has certain like starters that will help you with that. So there is multiple ways to do it. You could do it as much as just overnight, even with caradinas. I see you were talking about caradinas, not catalinas. I can see why that's spelled checked. But yeah, so the caradinas, you actually, the more time you give it to cycle, the better for them. And it's almost best to have some kind of like leaf litter or something natural, like a piece of wood that they can graze on, that creates a lot of that biofilm that they can actually graze on. Because shrimp, they're scavengers. They graze all day long. They're just picking at surfaces and seeing what they can come up with to eat. And best thing to do is just kind of let that marinate for a couple weeks. You could do it overnight, but I don't recommend it if you're just beginning. At least give it a couple weeks. And anytime you add like a piece of like leaf litter or debris, it will kick start that microbiology a lot faster. It's kind of like the same reason why, say you start a new pond, people will throw straw or hay in there to really get it to settle with like green water and whatnot, because the decaying material feeds a lot of those microorganisms. That does a lot of work of what nature does to take care of our aquariums. A good question, and thanks for it. Oh, hello, everybody coming in. Good to see you guys all in here. And I don't know how long I'll be on here, because I actually got some fish sitting in a box. Maybe I'll pull them out and show them to you guys. But I got to get them into their new home. But you guys know how it is with quarantine. I've got fish already in there that I've got to move into the barn, so it's not just as simple as throwing them in the quarantine right now. I got a bunch of moving around, but I'm excited about them. Found a real cool fish store up in Gainesville. It is called Here Fishy Fishy, newer fish store. I think it's only been up for like a month. And I went to another one. It was not that great. But this one, that last one, Here Fishy Fishy, highly, highly recommend. About came out with a lot more fish. We'll definitely be going back to get more fish. And the best part about it was usually I get fish to breed. And this time actually I'm getting fish that I enjoy. I mean, I enjoy the fish that I breed, but that I can just enjoy. Like I don't have to worry about breeding them. Maybe if I breed them down the future, I will. Like tetras and other stuff I wanted. Which I've got some tetras, but I want like a big tank of a bunch of them. Especially after being there, I just wanted them. So here, Fishy Fishy in Gainesville. If you haven't been there, definitely check it out. Gainesville needs a fish store like that. So if you guys go and support that store, that city will have a lot better luck with their aquarium keeping because the other stores I don't think are going to provide quite what they're looking for compared to what they're doing. Because it's either the big box store and then there's like one other one. Well, you got to support those stores because if like they're gonna stay around, like they can't do it without support. Jessica Hussey, good to see you in here as always. Been a while. Says LRB, I just lost all the fish in my 60-gallon. Oh no, their skin was falling off. What do you think it was? The lace catfish just suffered. Oh my god, so sorry to hear that. What that sounds like is a skin coat issue, and usually what that comes from is when they will flush the water systems with a bunch of chemicals and they don't tell you. And I don't know if you recently did a water change and that could have been an issue to where there was just too much chlorine, chloramine in it. But that tends to be the issue when you have the slime coat just coming apart off of a fish. Besides that, I couldn't tell you. But that's usually the case. I have seen it happen to me with a bunch of guppies at Aquashella. And luckily, I acted fast enough, got with Fritz because they were the ones doing the Aquashella. And they had the guard, Fritz guard, which creates like this artificial slime coat on the fish. So if there are those harsh pollutants in that water that will rip away their natural biofilm, it helps substitute that. Oh, and she's on a well. Hmm. On a well. I don't know. Temperature difference, maybe? Could the temp have been an issue? Yeah, sometimes wells get low, but even if a well got low, you're just going to get more minerals. So I don't think that would be an issue. Unless you're like near a farm field. I don't know if you have fields near you. They could have thrown something on the field and it could have leached into your well water, which is always a scary thought. Some people don't even think about that stuff, but definitely happens. Um, I don't know. So if it's none of those, let us know, and maybe we'll keep being able to diagnose this because it's kind of rare for something like that to happen. I don't know of any just disease that just does that. Queen Blah of Ghosting says, "Do you ever use salt for your tanks?" So I don't. I probably should more for my guppies. But being where I am with the limestone in Florida, there's a lot of natural salts within my well water, so I don't have to worry about it so much. I think my guppies would like more. The guy with the face, "Hey man, we both go to Pasco County regularly. I was wondering if you're working with Pseudomugul cyanidorialis. I've been looking for them for a while. Gary Lang didn't bring any." I know there's a couple people in my chat on my channel that are working with the Pseudomugul cyanidorialis. So if they are and you guys hear this, if you comment it, if you're in the chat, but if you're not in the chat, comment in the video later, and then the guy with the face can hopefully check within like the next day or two, and maybe one of you guys are working with Pseudomugul cyanidorialis and can help him out. And you can find some. I personally do not have them. I am not keeping them because they can be a little more labor of love to breed because they do need salt water to breed out, or it's their usual breeding behavior to condition them with some salt water. And as you guys know, with all the hundreds of tanks I have, it's harder for me to do that kind of stuff. So as cool as they are, I have kept them out of my fish room for that reason only. Let's see. Jessica Hussey, thank you so much for that $5 super chat. I really appreciate that, Jessica. Much love for that support. Very helpful around the holidays. Mikey Fish Tank says, LRB, you ever use any of those Home Depot racks to stack 125s? Oof, oof, oof. I wouldn't be ballsy enough for that. No way. No way. Actually, some of these fish rooms people be setting up with those racks, and sometimes they'll come with that particle board that, like, if you get it wet, it turns to mush. I've seen it happen many times. I'm not going to name names, but I look at those racks, I'm like, that's going to last like maybe a year or two, if they're lucky, 3. But eventually that stuff will wear down, break down. And 125 gallons is a lot of weight. You're looking at like 1,000 pounds plus. So with any rating on, I pretty much all those Home Depot shelves, I don't think there's any that rate that high. So you're better off building it. I actually have, I don't know if I have a video actually building my 125. I think I do got a video of building a double 125 rack. There's actually 2 125s stacked on top with 2 40s up above, which pretty much I built regular rack like I normally do, and then put like a back 2x4 right in the middle just for support. That was it. But I know not everybody's into building their own. For 125, I know there was this builder named Mabuna racks, like aquarium racks or something like that, and they had like some kind of rack you could buy. I don't think they were very cheap. I don't even know if they're still in business. That was years ago. Thank you, Aquarium Fantasy. Always good to see you in here, brother. We did have a good time, David. Thanks. Says, hey, Lucas, nice video with keeping fish simple. Seems like you guys had a good time. We did. We had a real good time. Now, if you guys have not seen that video where he toured the fish room, I know a lot of you guys been waiting for that fish room tour. It was a few months ago. I think it was in like March or something. And even been later than that. So a lot has changed since then. But it really showed in depth of what all was going in there. And as far as like how things go, like what I'm doing, it's proof that this can work. A lot of people don't think it can work, but it does. Or some do, not a lot. I shouldn't say that. Just say it's not normal and it's not what's normally taught. So people have questions, put it that way. Lamar Rise Up One says, did it take a while to get where you are now with breeding? Oh yeah, definitely, for sure. So I always had, like, my dad always had tanks when I was growing up as a kid. I didn't really keep much as far as like aquarium hobby fish. And that was because I was usually catching stuff out of the creek, putting them in there, like crawdads and minnows and chubs and stuff like that, little catfish, snakes, tiny little snakes. And so I wasn't into like keeping tetras until high school. I got like my first group of rummy nose. I was keeping them in well water. How I was doing that at my age, I didn't really know. Didn't really pay much mind to it. Just had some fish that had some colorful rocks and stuff like that. And then after high school, I went to college. And then college, I had to work full time, went to school full time. So there was no time for nothing. Graduated finally with a degree in design and ended up getting a fish tank again for the first time as a 29-gallon high. And I thought I would put like this little divider to like make it a multi-level tank. I thought it was like the coolest idea ever, doing like these little PVC step downs. And like I was hoping the fish would go in there and hang out. The fish never went in there, hung out. It was so impractical. And then I'm just kind of looking around the fish store for something different. And I have never in my life noticed the plant section that they had there. I always just glazed by it, didn't pay any mind to it. And I'm like, plants, aquarium, plants, aquarium. And I went down a rabbit hole. I wanted to know everything about like putting plants in an aquarium. Then I got onto the internet. I found Aquatic Plant Central, the Planted Tank. Those were like the main like planted tank forums as far as places to go for planted aquariums, because there was no Facebook there, there was no Instagram, there was nothing. I don't even know if MySpace was around at this time. But I went down a rabbit hole. I started collecting plants from all around the world and I was sharing them with everybody. And I had a really good friend that lived near me at the time in Indiana named Yoink, which was his username. And he had like the high in CO2. He was doing the RO water, doing the mineralization, doing that whole full on like AGA style, like really make things nice. So I went down that rabbit hole. I did the CO2, I did the soft water. I was growing all kinds of rare plants, all kinds of cool stuff. And then ended up breaking up with my girlfriend at the time. And then so I had to like run around with these like 3 tanks for the longest time until I was like wanting to settle down again. And kept these planted tanks, which was cool, but there was a few times like I didn't really take that good care of them, but I still learned how well they still did. And then it was on to like after finding Lady LRB, I finally settled down. She was into it. At that time, I actually had a 2-bedroom apartment, and one of the bedrooms was my fish room. And it wasn't until I moved her in that I was like, hey, here's my fish room. But I was showing her what I did. I was heavy. Oh, okay. She says she's seen it before, but anyways, I was getting into the shrimp big time. Then we finally got a house. Then I ended up with 14 tanks starting in one little room in that house. And I was breeding. Very first fish, by the way, I bred was around the same time I found those plants, which a golden wonder killie. So that sent me down another rabbit hole too. But ended up turning those 14 tanks into a few hundred aquariums over like I don't know how many years, and then outdoor tubs, ponds. I landscaped the whole backyard back there that had like 5 ponds at my old house in Indiana. If you type in LRB house for sale or LRB Aquatics house for sale, it'll show you the whole thing, the whole fish room, the whole like what I was doing back there. So I had to build myself all the way up to that, just going to different other breeders and clubs, learning so much. So that was like my practice fish room. Then moving down here finally, which was like almost 3 years ago, coming in. When did we move here? May. So about 2.5 years. And I took all that knowledge from what I learned there. And like I said, I used to do the high tech stuff a lot more. Even there, I had a 3,000 gallon per hour RO system. And what I learned from outside is what taught me that I didn't need filters. What taught me to connect with Mother Nature and to make things more simple. Because if I was going to keep hundreds and hundreds of aquariums again, I mean, some people would have hundreds of aquariums and be like, oh, I probably don't want to do that again because it's a lot of work, it's challenging. And from what I knew, I was nothing but gung ho and ready for as many aquariums as possible again, because the way that I do keep them, it makes it so much easier for me. Now, not always are all my tanks display tanks where they're like, ooh, ah. I do have some tanks that are like that, but not all of them. So I do get judged heavily on that, but I don't care because breeding tanks aren't supposed to look that nice and nature is dirty. Nature does what it does, and that's what I try to teach you guys now, what all I've learned from that whole journey, because I've went against the grain for a long time. And all for the help share with you guys, because God, I could be doing all kinds of other things with my life. I love what I do. There's a reason why I'm on this path, and it's not just for myself, or I wouldn't be here. So who knows what the future is going to bring here? I would love to get another barn on top of my barn, and have a few more hundred fish tanks. So it did take a lot to build this up. It's been years and years and years. Elser says, LRB, how's it going today? It's going pretty good. I've actually been in a better mood today than I've been in a long time, to be honest. A lot of things good have been happening. I've been very motivated too, which is even better. Matt Flash says, I have water with a KH and GH of 10, TDS around 200. Makes sense because it's usually that 10 is 100 TDS, or if it was 18, it'd be 180. Says, can I stop off with tap water, or can I top off with tap water, or should I use rainwater? Thanks. It all depends on what you have, but if you're at a 200 TDS, you are in the neutral range, and most anything and everything, that's where they want to be, is at that 200 range. Matter of fact, I'm a little jealous of your water, and you should just keep it as it is. The only reason I would say if you want to lower it or should lower it is if you're keeping like Caradinos, or say you got like some rams you're trying to breed, or a pistos, which still they would probably still breed, but just make it softer if you're wanting to breed them. Wouldn't hurt. So if you use rainwater or distilled water or O water, you could just drop it slightly enough. And at the old house, what I used to do when I had that RO system, we had super hard water there. It would come out of the tap at like 400 TDS. And I would do like half and half water changes. So if I did like a 50% water change, I would add 25% of my tap water and then 25% back of my RO water, which would normally give me about a 200 range. Do I keep reptiles? I don't keep reptiles. My brother had some growing up, but I don't know. I've never been a big fan of them. Besides, like the snakes I would collect as a kid, but I was more doing stuff as a kid in the 80s and 90s. Brent J 2254 says, I ordered 2 Plecos from you in hopes of being male and female. If they turn out to be both males, what's the likelihood of them fighting in a heavily planted 29-gallon with 3 caves? Although, if they are 2 males, you don't have to worry about them fighting too much. They don't really do too much damage to each other. Plecos are very peaceful, especially with 3 caves. They've got space. You'll be good. I can't explain neon tetra disease. I don't know enough about it, to be honest. Lots of farm fields, Jessica says. Yeah, potentially could be something they sprayed in there, which is kind of scary. Huh? I am in top chat, but I think I am way behind because there is a ton of questions here. Lucas, do you use tracking on your fish shipments? I do. So whenever you get shipment, okay, Lady LRB, gotcha. Yeah, check your emails. Scroll. Do our fish assume that we are also in water? You know, that's a good question. That is a good question. I could only imagine what goes through our fish's minds because they get to see, like, we're their TV. It's really wild. Janice Lundberg, member for 52 months. I was trying to get to that in time, but it says much love and appreciation as always. I hope you're in here, Janice. Same to you. You've been an awesome, awesome supporter throughout the years, helping this all be possible. So thank you, thank you. Any fish will do with the $5 super chat. Thank you. Any fish will do, says LRB. Looking forward to my order. Keep up the great work. Fish house to Florida Dreamland. Well, thank you, bro. I really appreciate that and the support. I like that TikTok you did the other day. That was pretty good. As you saw. You keep up the good work as well. Thank you. Ernie Coach says, hey Lucas, I purchased a couple pairs of your rainbow tiger antlers. Do they regularly reproduce and how long have you kept them? So I've had them for let's say about 2 years now. I re-got them I think like 6 months after we moved here and had been working on them again. And they reproduce like any antler. And as far as like keeping the line forever, I probably had, I don't know, 5 years or something. But now we got the 2.0 out. If you haven't seen the video for those, I've been working on a double cross. So to create the rainbow tiger antlers, it took regular tiger antlers with the blue star antlers. And there's another name for them that I can't remember what they call them. But cross those, and then I crossed the rainbow tiger antlers with the albino galaxy guppies, and then it just like amplified the colors and the tails and stuff. And now sometimes they throw the albinos. Getting my mustache all wet. Skinny Bones 0000 says, hey, what's the best way to convince my girlfriend I need another tank? Best way to do it is not to convince her and to just do it. You're the man, right? Come on, wear the pants. Lady LRB just said, are you kidding me? No, I'm not kidding, bro. Go for it. Do it. Seth Moberly says, do you grow or raise your own food for them? If so, could you make some how-to videos on that? So the only live food I really do much of is either shrimp and or Daphnia. Daphnia is like the main trigger. And I should be making a video of that here hopefully soon. Probably not this month, but next month. if what I'm using all goes good, because it can be kind of a pain to keep Daphnia going. So with this stuff I'm using, hopefully, I'll have like a never-ending source of it. I would like to do a brine shrimp tub too at some point. Make like a saltwater tub for brine shrimp. Which of course I would make a video for that if and when I do it. Yeah, Lady LRB says, Skinny Bones, you gotta just be really excited and happy when you tell her about it. No one wants to squash someone's dreams. That's a very good answer, Lady LRB. I know, I took notes because the time you did it. Oh, she so took I could answer that question. Took notes so she could answer that question. But yeah, if she's trying to squash your dreams, then I don't know, you should probably squash her. Elser says, LRB, yesterday I bought some fish from 100 miles away. When I got home, I tested the TDS and it was 700. I dripped them for 10 hours to get it to somewhat match my 100 TDS water. Will the fish adjust okay? So it does help if you tell me which kind of fish, because that can play a huge difference. But very often, it's a lot easier to get a fish to go from hard water to soft water than it is to soft water to hard water. And the main reason for this is the fact that not as much bacterials, fungals, and other things live in softer water. So the more mineralized your water is, the more there is for that stuff to eat. And so when it comes to immunities, it's not usually as hard on them to go softer than it is harder. And you should be good. I would have probably just plopped them, dropped them, and they would have been fine. But I'm a maniac, so. And for my experience, most fish just don't care. Unless they're like a real specific fish. But most normal fish don't care. And sorry if I'm missing anybody's questions. There is a bunch over there, and I just kind of hop around a little bit. But Joel G, good to hear you or see you in here. You're the one that said asking about if fish assume that we are in water. I know the ones that jump realize that no, we're not in water. Scroll. Aaron Gray says the four manculosis left, are they large enough to tell if both sexes? So that's the unfortunate part is I can't really tell, but I do my best to at least get some pairs if possible, if I think they are. Because when you guys do buy them, I do hope that you do breed them. I know not everybody will breed them, but the more people breeding them, the better. So I do try to do that. So I couldn't tell you. And if there is only four left, I may have some back still that if you're wanting more, just get a hold of me and I'll probably work something out before I add them to the website and maybe you'll just get them up. Bravehearts 1986 says, Hey LRB, would Empire Gungeons and Epistogrammus get along? I think they would get along all right. I don't think there would be too much of an issue. Because they both kind of like defend, but they also kind of keep to their own, you know. They're not really looking for a fight, they're more defenders. That guy with the face says, Do you still keep Melanotania pygmaea? So I do still have a pair of the pygmaeas. I need to move them around so I could hopefully get some babies out of them. Which I'm lucky to even have that pair because the female swam at 45 degrees for the longest time. I thought she was out and on her way. And most of the time, fish will die if they're swimming at that 45 degree. But she pulled through it. I don't know what she did, but she had dealt with it. Now she's alive. Any other person would have just fought that thing. And I did it. I mean, I used to do it too when I'd fight a fish, seeing them do that. But I just let nature do its thing, and months later, it was all right. You know what the craziest thing was? Was I had those geophagus that I have. So when I was quarantining them, I was quarantining them with guppies, and I didn't realize they would start eating the guppies. Well, one of those geophagus had eaten a huge female guppy, and it got stuck in its mouth. And I'm just like, crap, what am I going to do? Like, I would have had to pull the fish out, stress it out, try to pull the other fish out of the mouth. And, if it went back the wrong way, maybe it would damage something or injure coming out. So I didn't, like, since it was really lodged in there. So I was like, all right, I'm just going to, like, see what nature does. And man, this fish for like a week had laid there with that guppy in its mouth until it just slowly ate it. Like, it took it a week to eat the thing, but it ate it and it lived. And it was the craziest thing I ever saw. Don Baldwin said, question, I have a 125. I'm turning it into my piranha tank. 3 red belly, 1 year old. How should I filter it? I was thinking a 110-gallon filter and a shark internal are 2 110s. Um, like a 110 hang on the backs or something? Is that what you're thinking? I don't know what the 110s are. I would probably go with the canister filter, or personally, me myself would not even use a filter. Just do water changes and keep it planted and natural. Then you wouldn't have to worry about it. But I don't know. I couldn't really tell you. I'm not in the filter business as much. But just make sure you don't over clean your filters when you keep them. Inch and a half endlers are small. Yeah, endlers are small. Your future is saltwater tank. Yeah, hopefully one day. I'll put that effort in it. Just a lot of things I got to put my effort in first, but it will definitely be coming at some point. I've been getting so much done around here. Matter of fact, I'm excited to be showing you guys what all has been going on here. Brent J 2254 says, Lucas, didn't you sell your old fish room and the guy you sold it to make YouTube channel? Just curious if that fish room and all those ponds are still up and running. So I don't know. Like, I tried to get them to, and me and King of DIY are actually talking about this the other day. Is like, you can set people up for success, but they've also got to be able to want to do it themselves and put the time and effort into it. I think somebody talked to the guy who bought it recently and said that he was working on things trying to get it up and running. But like, YouTube content created is not for everybody. A lot of people want to do it, and for those who like really want it, they'll go for it. But it's not easy. It's really not that easy as people may think it is. Especially like content management. Like, my phone is nothing but fish stuff. Like, I hardly get to do the family pictures and things because luckily we got a Lady LRB to do that. But I mean, let's see. Most videos that I make have 50 plus clips to each one of them. I think there's like over 16,000 some videos on my phone, video clips. Now we got to do the shorts and the long forms if we're really going to go anywhere. Because just YouTube doesn't do it for me anymore, unfortunately. YouTube used to just like that's all I had to do. I was very dedicated and loyal to just YouTube, and now I've had to like hit up all the social medias just because the way that the environment is with how people use social media, just getting information out. But hopefully we can see something from them at some point. I know I would love to visit there again. Lamar Rise Up One says, "What is your advice with pothos plants? What part goes underwater?" So I'm pretty sure you could put like any part of it underwater. At least at least one node needs to be underwater to grow roots. But what if you just dunk the whole thing underwater? What? But yeah, right. So if you just dunk it in the water, it'll just grow up and out. So it's like aquatic for a little while, then let it grow out, let it grow in. It's really pretty easy. It kind of just does what it does. Doesn't need a whole lot of effort besides set it and forget it. Queen Blah of Ghosting says, "Do you believe in UV light?" That's a good question. That's a really good question because I mean, there's a lot of science behind it. And it's hard for me to argue with a lot of the science out there on it without like really the true understanding of it. But I have had a UV filter on my old water change system, and I felt like it helped with things like bacterial things and stuff like that. Now, I never changed the light, so then again, I've never had issues from that. So I don't know what all it really does, but I think it does have beneficial properties as far as like some of those single cell organisms that can be broken down by the radiation of the UV light. So there is potential for it being beneficial for certain things. But as far as like, I would have it more on my water system that I would have coming in to do water changes, opposed to actually being on the aquarium. Because when you put it on the actual aquarium, then it does potentially kill beneficial things too. But then there's so many other people who, they're running healthy systems with it. So I don't know. It's pricey if it's needed. Not really so much. But if you want to pay that extra price, make it just a little more nice. And, there you go. Travis Head says, "I'm starting on a fish room. Any tips?" So the best tips I could give you on starting a fish room is to like really sit back in that room before you build it and really think about what you want in the spaces. Get that tape measure out and try to lay it out the best you can the first go round. Will you get it the best first go round? Probably not, because fish rooms will always change. You'll always want to change it. That's just part of having a fish room. But the one biggest key I would say is to make sure that you leave yourself enough clearance between the tanks. Because if you don't have enough clearance between the tanks, you won't enjoy getting into the tanks, or it won't be as easy. Which for some people, that can be a mind block, and it will make it less likely for you to get in the tank and less enjoyable to work with. So leave yourself space between tanks. Do you use liquid fertilizer? So I used to. And I have videos on how to create your own liquid fertilizers from like dry ferts and all kinds of stuff like that. If you type in LRB fertilizers or LRB plant food, But now with my well water, the way it's mineralized and everything, I don't worry about it so much. That and I don't have real picky plants. If I was dealing with pickier plants and had more of a RO type of water where I was working with a clean slate, I know exactly what kind of minerals I'm putting in. I could really fine tune it. But I've got so much iron coming out of my well water, it's insane. So if I were to dose anything, I would probably dose my macros and not even dose my traces. But then you also get certain bondings with other elements when you got well water too, which can cause scaling and other things. So there's so many variables when it comes to using fertilizers, and most plants don't really need them. What are you doing, kitty? Yeah, come on, sweetie girl. You guys have met kitty. Don't say hi. This is Mama Cat. She's like, no. All right. Random Figment says, I have a guppy shrimp tank that has a bunch of planaria. What's the best way to get rid of them? So, if they're in a guppy tank, I'd honestly just let the guppies snack on them. That's like one of the best natural foods for them. But if you really, really didn't want them in there, they do make something called no planaria, which is fenbendazole. And just type in no planaria and you should be able to get a product that has easy dosing. But honestly, I would just let the guppies eat them. Like, that's so good for them. The thing about the planaria is you can chop those up and then they become more planaria. So if you're overfeeding, you'll tend to get a lot of them. What are you doing, kitty? She wants some cheese. Is that what you want? Ready for cheese? Hi, kitty. All right. Whoa, cat. I'm going to knock you guys over. Fishcapade says, when will you have more rice fish on site? You know, that's a good question. I've kind of been hoarding my rice fish. Kind of been hoarding them. Honestly, I might not have any until spring because I'm going to be hoarding them. I want like a good amount because they never stay in stock. You can't ever have enough. Graham Fantasy says YouTube is not what it used to be. Yeah, it's a bit different. It's because they tried to compete with TikTok, and now we got shorts and stuff. Which, I mean, I get it. It gives more to the viewers. Guess we gotta work twice as hard now. Connor says, hey, got my first pair of Gularis. Love your videos on them. What is your favorite live food for them? Worms are really good. So black worms, if possible, if you can get them, those are absolutely great. Little insects, bugs you can find outside, like even roly-polies and like beetles, flies, mosquitoes, mosquito larvae, actual full-size brine shrimp, real shrimp, Daphnia. As far as my favorite, it would be the black worms, but not always the easiest to source. And sometimes if you can't get them in clean, they can cause more problems than they really help. Aquarium Fantasy says, Lucas, have you ever used vinegar eels? So I haven't. I know a lot of people that have and a lot of people that swear by them. There's a little bit of a process with separating the eels and stuff. So I always kind of just like steered away from it just because I feel like I would create it and then it would just sit there and then it would just get nasty and then I'd forget about it and stuff like that. But if you had time to deal with them, a lot of people swear by them when it comes to those really small fry. Another thing that I don't really care for them is the fact that, like in my natural tanks, they would be all right if they died and decomposed. But if they're in a very sterile environment that somebody's trying to breed with and feed the vinegar eels and they die in there, it could muck up the water a lot quicker. T-Shot says, just got rope fish again and realize how much I miss them. Such a awesome fish. They really are very, very personal, cool fish. I wish I had more myself. We love our rope fish. Queen Bless of Ghosting says, how old are your goldfishes? I don't know how old those are. Man, I'm tired of sitting on that thing. Driving me nuts. About a year and I think they're older than that, aren't they? We've had them for quite a while for Wesley. Can't remember. But, oh yeah, before I hop off here, I actually got some more goldfish today. I'll show you guys. I said I wasn't going to be on here long because I have fish to deal with. You guys totally made me forget about time. Corium Fantasy says, how are your baby mascara barbs? They are doing good. The ones the two I left outside, not so good though. The heat or the cold, they did not care for, unfortunately. I was really, really, really hoping that I'd be able to overwinter them. And I can't. So, at least I know that now, and I didn't do it with a bunch of them. But here, let's check these out, because I got to deal with these, and it's almost been an hour already. Well, here we go. First up, bum, bum, bum. Goldfish. I'm excited. So, like, I used to not really care much about goldfish because I had goldfish as a kid, so it was like, oh, I've had those, you know. But the ones Wesley had, which are in the barn now, I got them in there working on some duckweed because a frog or something brought duckweed into my barn. So I got these little fellas. Group up with them. I feel like I want more goldfish in my life. So I got them. I spoiled myself a little bit. It's Christmas, you know. And then these guys, I've been trying to work on a school of these two. And I could not, like, holy crap, look how big these are. Clown loaches. I paid less than $12 a piece on those at a store, which that's like a steal of a deal for that size. Almost got more of them, but I didn't have enough money. But I plan on going again, and maybe I'll add a few more. I don't know if that, it's just its fins. Thought I sold something on them. Well, we got a few clown loaches. Whoop whoop. Excited about those. But hey, we got to see some fish on the stream. How about that? God, I got so many videos to make for you guys too that I got coming up. And there's something in our living room right now. And something in this kitchen, which I may have 2 more live spots to actually stream from. So that'll be cool in the future. So stay tuned. We're changing things up a little bit. Oh, Quack T Ho says a local just posted that they had a vinegar eel culture that sat for 3 years. They just found it and thriving. That's crazy. How did it not evaporate? Like, did it get rained on? I almost don't believe it. But you know, it's a wild world. Once you think you know something, life will surprise you. Ish Lopez says, just set up a 16-gallon long. What would be your suggested way to cycle? Considering I don't know how you're setting it up, but in general, you just give it 2 weeks. Let the essence of nature come from the essence of air and into the water, and microbiology will start doing what it's supposed to be doing. Then just start with a fish or 2. And once those are good and they look like they're doing good, then you can start adding more fish. That's the best way to go about it. Goldfish are awesome. Absolutely love my goldfish. Amazing money for those clown loaches. You know, there is, but at the same time, like, good luck breeding them. It takes forever to get them to size to breed. Actually, I don't know how young you can breed them. At least as far as the info I knew from a long time ago, you had to wait till they got really big. That could have changed. Been a lot more people playing around with fish and figuring things out. But maybe one day I'll focus on it. 10 years down the road. Because I think that's how long it takes, from what I heard last time. Eco Complete, Lava, and 4 Crypts and a Sword, and a bunch of other plants. So if you already got plants in there, that's a lot quicker start than if you don't have plants in there, as far as that cycle. But just to be safe, I would give it a week or two. And it also depends on where your water comes from. So if you're on city water, it's going to be more sterilized, and it will take time to get that microbiology back into it, opposed to your well water. If you got a well, you already have a lot of that essence of nature that's coming through it. That microbiology is in the dirt. Lamar Rizzo asks, how long does it take to feed all your fish? So it takes me about 15 to 20 minutes. Actually, that's just for the barn. So then you add another 5 minutes for in the house. But not too bad. I figured my goal would be to have enough tanks to where it took me, I would say, 45 minutes to an hour to feed everything. That would be that's how I actually judge my limit. It's not so much as like, oh, I only feel like I could keep this many tanks. It would literally come down to the point of how much time a day do I want to have to put directly towards the basic necessity of maintaining them, which is feeding them. Oh, Jupiter One says my crypts hated the cold. They look awful. Yes. You got crypts and you're doing cold water changes, be careful. Crypts do not like to get cold feet. If they get cold, they will just melt. Now, you don't, if they do melt, try to get rid of whatever decaying material you can, but do not like go pulling them, because if you go pulling them, you'll cause more problems. What they essentially do when they do get cold and melt back is they're just pretty much hibernating for winter. It's a natural trigger they have. Let's see. Jonathan W says, I'm getting a job in the oil fields, getting rid of 12 aquariums. So frustrating. Well, by the time you get done with all that, you're going to have enough money to get you a lot more than 12 aquariums. Just keep that in mind, brother. It's not always fun having to get out of it. Sometimes we have to do that in our lives. But hopefully you come back stronger. But it happens. Aquarium Fantasy says, how many aquariums would you even need to feed fish for an hour? Exactly. I would say probably about 1,000. I think 1,000 would be right about there. Depending on if I had like more ponds outside too. So if I had like more ponds outside that just took me longer to walk to, you gotta add time for that. Queen Blood. But if it was just like barn on barn, or just one big barn with 1,000 tanks, I think it would be around there, 1,000 tanks. How crazy would that be? 1,000 tanks. I'm not too far. Queen Blat of Ghosting says, "Do you still use beneficial bacteria liquids even though you have tanks for years or half a year?" No, 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 no. I don't use any beneficial bacteria liquids, anything like that. I let nature do it all. Any fish will do, says, "Dude, 1 hour feeding time would be insane. Perfect problem." Right? Right? Dun, 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 dun. Six Speed says, "I want that Pet Smart 125-gallon tank, but I won't use that stand." Hopefully they have their sale going on soon. I only need like a 20-gallon, but still, I ain't paying full price. I know PetSmart has deals too. Thanks, Aquarium Fantasy. I appreciate that. It says, "I want to see Lucas with 1,000 aquariums. Let's make that dream happen." Hey, like you're thinking. Let's do it. Bridge the Football says, "Do you think that fish stores need to adopt to the rise of Amazon and big box stores? How should they evolve to compete with PetSmart?" Honestly, I think it all comes down to marketing. So you can have the best idea, you can have the best whatever in the world, but if people have no clue that it exists, that's it. Like awareness is key when it comes to that. But as far as like the regular fish store, small mom and pop ones that aren't big box stores, in my opinion, forever will always be better than any big box store. Granted, their selection won't be as thick of just product and stuff, which, as you guys know, I don't use a whole lot of anyway. But they're going to care for the fish more. You're going to likely get some that do quarantine, so you'll get better quality of fish than, like, say, your Petco Pet Smart fish, which, like, I see these fish in the stores. I see some of these fish stores, and like, I always wish the best for people, but some of them shouldn't be in business. But then there's some that, like, yes, please keep doing what you're doing. You should be here forever. But none of that matters if they can't market for themselves. So that's the biggest competition that they really have to do with the big box stores is just let themselves be known around their area, whatever area they're working. And there's a lot of ways to market. Pond Puppy says that's about 3.5 seconds per tank. LOL. Did you really break down the math for that? Now I'm kind of curious what the actual math is. But 3.5 seconds per tank? Shoot, I might be able to do 1,200. I could probably do a little more. I know it doesn't take me more than 3 seconds on a tank. Like I go when I feed, I'm going. Well, thank you, T Shot. I appreciate that. Bridge the Football says, "I live near Ocean Aquarium. Have you heard of them? They have guppy colonies that breed on their own, so they don't need to reorder." Um, Ocean Aquarium. So that's kind of a generic name for a fish store. So there could be multiple ones around. Like, what state is that in? Because I feel like I've heard about one in Florida, but I feel like that's such a normal name that, I think I've seen it in other places. Aquarium Fantasy says, "Lucas, when will you do an updated fish room tour?" So, updated fish room tour will actually probably not come from me, but hopefully the king of DIY himself and his girlfriend Tamara. They plan on being here. I don't know how big of a fish room tour, if they'll do the actual full tour, but it'll be really interesting to get their perspectives of it. And then maybe after that, like around the spring or late winter, I might do my own. We'll see. Dun, 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 dun. But it takes some time to put those full tours together because there is a lot going on here. Ish Lopez says, I also have a 6.5 gallon that has been going for 1 year. Should I use sponge filter or anything from that tank to jumpstart the beneficial bacteria? I mean, it could. It definitely could for sure. That's how I would at my old house when I did have filters. I would just take the sponge filter, squeeze it in the tank. It's actually best done when the water level is low, but you can still do it at any time. It may look dirty for like that first day or night. Um, it's a little tougher though when you have filters and you put that beneficial bacteria in there and it still churns it constantly. There's a potential it could cloud the water, opposed to if you had a no filter and it would just settle within like the next day. So there is a slight difference there in benefit to a no filter opposed to a filter when it comes in those situations. But if you do have a filter, you could always dirty your new filter with the old filter stuff. And then that's pretty much like instantly cycling your tank. Oh, 3G, my guy. Says we need some This Old Tank episodes. For sure, dude. I ain't done that for a while. Blast from the past. I do need to do that again. Man, there's so many lists of things I need to do. I could do This Old Tank every day. If I could do one video, a tank a day, I've got like a tank for each day of the year that I could do of This Old Tank. That's how crazy, like, the amount of content that's really around here. But just showing you guys tanks, I always try to give advice and tips where I can with the algorithms. And I think people want other like videos. But yeah, no, I should do that. Aquarium Domain. Good to see you around here, buddy. I was actually just perusing your channel. I saw you're building some big shark predator tank. And I still want to come visit at some point. Actually, 2025 is going to be a big year. And it's going to be a little different from the channel because we are out of a build mode for the most part. And hopefully I'll be able to get around more. Oh, okay. I know. Bridge to Football, the one Corey visited. Okay, so the one in San Francisco. Yes, I have heard of that place. Really neat place. Really, really neat place. It was actually pretty inspiring. I liked how he used the CO2 as it diffused throughout the water. I always thought that was a brilliant idea. That was one of my favorite takes from Ocean Aquarium. But I'd like to visit that place before it's too late. I don't know how old that guy is. Aquarium Fantasy says, Lucas, will you do a members live stream again? Yes, I've been wanting to. In the fish room. I'm kind of waiting for a warm enough day that we could do it like kind of right outside of the fish room there. But I always feel bad like doing members only stuff because it's like I know you guys support me. It's like I don't know. It's kind of like not sharing with everybody else. It creates a division. I really hate that about like I love the support of the members and it benefits and helps me so much, actually more than you guys really realize. Like my memberships isn't much, but it's still like half of what I get off of YouTube. And I just hate dividing content up, you know, just because somebody has money or doesn't have money. Now I understand that if you're willing to like support me, like you do deserve more value. But I also understand not everybody has money. Because, I grew up with not a whole lot of money. I had money and I didn't have money. And, like, I know how both sides of the coin works there. Let me just say, I don't know. I'm just not. I would love to. I would love to, and I need to. But do you understand like my confliction there? Anybody else relate? That sort of thing. Maybe I just got issues. Queen Blood of Ghosting says, "Do you keep brackish fishes?" So I don't. Besides, like my mollies, puppies, which they can live in brackish. Technically, they're not brackish. Oh, my bad. Janice Lundberg says Joey got married. Lucas, oh, his wife, not his girlfriend. My bad. My bad. My bad. That's true. So true. I'm just like Lady LRB. She's my girlfriend, but I guess my wife. We didn't just technically just didn't get married through the government's eyes. Our love is a lot different. It's beyond all that. I don't need lawyers for my love. Ish Lopez. Oh, you guys got me way over an hour here. Really got to get to these fish. Ish Lopez says the new tank does have a hang on back filter. Ideal to squeeze used sponge filter into the hang on the back or directly into tank. Yes. So if there's already nothing in a tank, turn off the filter, squeeze that stuff in there, and then just let that settle in there for a day, and then turn the filter back on, and then you should be good to go. And then I would just let that cycle for a day, and then you're ready for fish. Lamar Rise Up says, "Did Hurricane Milton affect any of your outside aquariums?" So it didn't really. It actually settled a lot of the green water and cloudy water for me, but then it came right back. But no, it did blow some insulation into some of them, but still didn't have any issue. Luckily, I had topped them off, so I got enough mineralization in there, and that didn't really become an issue of it just getting too soft for anything. Even though I don't think anything out there would care. I think member content would be twice as much work too. And I appreciate your view on stuff. As someone who lives on very limited income, and glad you understand. Yeah, indeed. Like I know money comes easier for some and not for others, and the way the world works is kind of wild. And right now, unfortunately, the way they're trying to develop it, it's not. They're trying to create it to be like the financially fittest wins. And for humanity, it's not always the best. Member website update video. I like that. I like that, Ben. That's a good idea. I need to actually just do that period for my channel. I don't think I've ever did like a video of like, okay, this one's for sale. Like I'll do like maybe one singular of something for sale, but not like the whole spiel of this is for selling ready. Queen Blood of Ghosting says, "Are your tanks under stock of fishes? Like, what is your ratio?" So I get pretty wild with some of my tanks. A lot of mine I do not overstock just due to I like my fish to have room. But currently I've got a 29 gallon that has like 25 Chilometherinia alanites in them and like 30 or 35 bristlenose plecos. And it's only a 20 gallon. So sometimes I'll just like overstock them. Sometimes I don't. When I have a lot of tanks, it all depends too. Like there's some with endlers, just bukus of them. But for the most part, I don't try to crop my fish. All right, all right, all right. So we are well over the time mark, 75 minutes. I got to get these fish in. I don't even have them covered right now. So let me show you guys one thing real quick before I hop off here. How do I flip this? Oh. So this is what I usually do when I get fish. And this is a really good tip for whenever you're getting fish. And say you don't have a styro box, you can use any box. But if you notice, I got these towels here. And it's best to have like dark towels But what I do is I keep them covered. And when you keep them covered and you keep them dark whenever they're traveling, that's the biggest tip trick of anything is like they'll go into sleep mode. And when they're all just sleeping, being peaceful, they don't stress, they don't create a lot of ammonias and issues within the bag. And I could get away with having fish in the bag for a long time just due to that. So a little tip for you guys. I gotta get these guys their bass and get them into their quarantine. And I appreciate you guys all watching. And, if you haven't checked it out for a while, or even yet today, LRBAquatics.com. Can't forget that. But I appreciate you guys. Have a great weekend. Till next time, everybody. Peace. Dun-dun-dun, 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 dun-dun-dun. That monster. Jeez. That's a big old boy.